panel this evening of the speakers who spoke this afternoon. Got two clear areas we're going to cover. Women in print, we just had a session and we were just talking about that. It was very interesting, interesting for me to hear as well. And I think quite a number of men were listening and I found that really useful. So I think we want to start with that. So Karis, I'll introduce you in a second to talk to Montserrat about that. Also want to talk about, today is Global Exhibitions Day, and as the focus of the event is about virtual events and connecting, it's sort of apt to talk about where we are with exhibitions in the print industry. And also joined by Arnaud, who's with Memjet, and presented this afternoon about a new innovation, AlphaJet, which is a collaboration with MGI, and then we're going to introduce that throughout the discussion. So first up though, I'd like to ask you, Montserrat, to introduce yourself and whereabouts in the world you are.
Okay, so yes, my name's Montserrat Peidro, and I am heading one of the business units at Heidelberg. I'm locked down in Barcelona, and when I'm not locked down, I've got my office in Heidelberg. So as a result, I live on a Lufthansa plane, and my family is extremely happy about Corona locking us all down these days for 11 weeks now in Spain.
Wow, okay. That's, thank you for joining us. That's brilliant. And
thank you.
Arnaud, where are you? Whereabouts are you?
So,
and tell us a bit about you as well. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm located in Düsseldorf. In fact, I have a French accent, but I live in Düsseldorf, and I'm responsible of Memjet in the EMEA region. In fact.
Fantastic. And Karis, you obviously you're a colleague and for Future Print, but you're UK based.
Yes. Yep. Here in Bristol, in the UK. Yep.
Fantastic. So let's kickstart things off really with Karis, because the session that you ran earlier, Arnaud and I have been talking. It was interesting to hear some of the issues about women in print and some of the impact of COVID, but the general issues. Over to you.
Yeah, really, really interesting discussion. I was really pleased to get a wide range of kind of voices in different areas of the industry and different kind of geographical locations as well, and just kind of have a lively, passionate discussion. And yeah, we covered some COVID-related focus challenges, but also some other kind of mainstream challenges for women. And we also talked about challenges of COVID-19 for just working women and women in general as well. So we covered a lot of bases. And I know, Montserrat, one of the things that you were definitely passionate about was the importance of role models and kind of having senior women to look to, having things for young women and young people in the industry to aspire to, and just kind of how do we make sure that kind of crucial topic is kept front of mind at a time like this?
Interesting enough, what people thinks immediately as a means to get to that, having role models in top management positions, female role models, is the quotas, right? And I have a very clear opinion about quota setting for female roles in board of directors or advisory boards, which is definitely not mainstream. I have tried to work with quotas, right, as a way of triggering more or fostering the hiring of more women in upper positions, and I have failed. Well, some people say it wasn't implemented well. I really think it is a very artificial way of making things happen, because at the end of the day, what companies need are the best candidates, the best talent, and talent doesn't know about gender, right? You might have a bright woman or a bright man, and it depends on the profile and the role that they would make it as the best candidate for that. So the way that I see it is, it's probably slower. Yes, I give you that, but it's more profound and deeper. It has to do with the education. It has to do with educating male and women, the male community that is hiring managers. They also need to be sensitive about the diversity. They need to see diversity as a plus for the company. There are so many studies about how diversity improves creativity, innovation, confrontation results into new ideas. And if we, from the very beginning of education, in the very early days, extended into all layers of management in companies, provide that education on the, and not only education, conviction about the values of diversity and what it brings to companies and to society, I think this is a faster way. Now, another thing that I would, I believe is important is to make sure in every hiring process you have a male and a female hiring managers that really can contribute together to find out who is indeed the best candidate for that position. And we were talking about that in our session. Funny enough, all WhatsApp messages I got were from women saying, of course we need to set up quotas. Again, as we were discussing in our call before, this is a very controversial topic, and half of us are pro and half of us are against. But I think it's education, and it's a deeper society task that we've got in front of us.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I might say that I fall on the other side of the issue of that we do need it, but the reason I think that is because of the way things kind of are currently set up. And I think what you're saying is we wouldn't need them if we're kind of implementing that education earlier, making sure there's both women and men hiring. So I completely agree with you from that side of things, that there's a better way to do it than just simply kind of a box ticking exercise. So yeah, it was and I think that was kind of a consensus among the panel that early education, things like mentorship, internships, were really, really important.
There is a very important point. Normally when you impose something, it's the change of management of change, right? In the very moment you impose something, you generate an opposite reaction. So the quotas or these, female movement might be perceived by the male community as an imposition. Some of my male peers, they feel threatened, they feel they don't understand, they feel treated unfairly. And of course, you create the opposite reaction to what diversity should be. Diversity is, to me, the art of thinking together individually, or thinking individually but together. You've got your opinion, which is unique, which shows a point of view that represents your nationality, your gender, your age, your social level, and you think in your way together with the others' views on the same problem. If we build sides, this is against diversity. We're not going to create, yes, we're going to be a 50-50 gender team, but we're not going to leave the spirit of diversity. That's my entire point. And
yeah, completely understand that. And I think I know we wanted to kind of bring in a kind of male perspective on that. I know we've got a question here. I don't know how you want to proceed, Marcus, if you have any questions, or there's a question.
Go with a question,
yeah. A question from Mike Horston is, will the COVID-19 change the mentality of men now having to work from home and see kind of what women are doing, as most men are complacent with the women's role? And I know that I've read some really interesting articles and kind of statistics over the last few weeks about how women kind of share that burden of, take on most of that burden of childcare, of work around the house, and now kind of more people are working at home. And I know that I read something today that said even working mothers at home that get time to work are 50% more likely to be disturbed than fathers, even if they're kind of the higher earner. So really, really interesting dynamics there. What are your kind of thoughts on that, Montserrat, if you think this kind of change perspectives in that way?
Totally agree. My experience is exactly that. We've got one son. We both are working at home. Guess who he goes to for questions, right? It's me. So, but probably this is a question for Arnaud or Marcus, because they are the men and they are now exposed to what their women have to do at home. How do you feel, guys? Have you been shocked or eye-opened, or oh, you knew it and that's okay?
Arnaud.
I think it was, I think I listened, in fact, the session this afternoon with you, Montserrat, Karis, and with Marianne and Adrienne. I found it very interesting, and I think it would be interesting to see how many men attended this session, in fact, because here we speak about parity. When you speak about spirit of diversity, we speak about parity. And I totally agree with what you said this afternoon. As a father, I have 3 kids, but I have a 2-year-old little boy. So from one day to another, we did not have any more nanny and to take care of the little boy. And so then we split with my wife, and I took care of this little boy from 7 in the morning until 1 o'clock, the nap. And then after I started to work until I work a lot with the US, so until 10 p.m. and my wife took over. We really did the parity, and we really enjoy doing this to put it in practice every day. I will not say now I'm missing it, but a little bit almost, because life is coming a bit more normal, and now we have an analysis today. So I believe that for us, man and woman, we have to share responsibility, and I think this the last 40 days were maybe a good opportunity for everyone to understand what everyone is doing, in fact, okay, in the private life and in the professional life, and what are the expectations that we have to achieve every day.
And it's with these little steps, right? You're 2 years old now knows mommy and daddy, they do the same. It's just at different hours. And he will grow up like this, hopefully, thinking, you know, that's
Absolutely.
normal. That's the new normal. Let's hope for that to be the new normal.
And I just wanted to add one more point. In fact, in the years before, I had the chance to work in Sweden, and I lived 5 years in Sweden. Okay, and it's a very interesting country, Europe, for parity. I think 45% of the senior leader in Sweden are women, and the country is doing a lot for helping the promotion of women, and to make sure that the family life is well balanced and well shared between the two parents. I wanted to mention that because for me it was a very important experience I had to face with in Sweden, also as a manager, and to talk a lot and to promote a lot working with women. Very interesting, I think. Very interesting country.
One of the things I wanted to bring up was that there are industries that are more balanced than print, right? I mean, that's what came out of the discussion that you had. There were packaging. I think one of the ladies said, I work in packaging as well as print. That's much more evenly balanced. Why is print proportionally so bad, do you think, in terms of gender balance in senior roles particularly?
It's becoming better now with the second and third generation of daughters and granddaughters, right? But if you look at it from the manufacturer point of view, unless you come from even if you look into the digital printing manufacturers that come more from the technology point of view, there the female participation in technology companies like, the Ricoh, who is a sponsored, or Canon or HPs, all these manufacturers that come more from the technology and the office, there are 25% of women in the workforce, whereas in printing we're below 13, right? And in manufacturers is below 10%. So I think, especially in industrial printing, it has always been a dirty industry, right? It's always been considered something heavy metal, very industrial and dirty, like screen printing, like the most dirty ever, right? Or even offset printing, which involved a lot of that part. In the very same moment that pre-press started being a thing, you saw more women, and then with the daughters and granddaughters, you see more women in management positions in the print service provider side. But I think it's just because historically it is a heavy metal, dirty, with all my love, dirty industry.
And I guess it was an industrial, like you say, in people used to go to, you'd go to a printing college, and that would be mostly male dominated, and it would be a man's job to be a printer.
Man's job, yeah. However, I was in awe. In France, there is that school, and I remember we were hiring students for our demo center, and the best students were women from France. Amazing. And the new students, we are at Heidelberg in Germany, we're also hiring a lot of female students that are slowly going into that. Why? Probably because digital print is offering a, its technology is digital, is more in our stereotypes suitable for a female position.
Yeah, no, definitely, and like you say, there's certain attributes and precision and so on and so forth that play to that. We've got another chat here to us, sent from Graham Kennedy. Print's highly male dominated, but from an inkjet perspective, customers don't care who delivers the support or information, so long as the source can be trusted. 50% of our technical support lab is female, including PhD chemists. You mentioned in your session that engineers tend to be a very small amount of women, but actually, from what I understand, there's more chemists coming through. There's a bit more balance in the chemistry, and that's so agrees with you on talent, but doesn't know gender, and these women in our organisation are extremely visible. So this, like you were saying, you actually did say Ricoh is an example of a company that has got that, and I'm sure Heidelberg, you've got a policy in place to address the kind of gender imbalance. One of the questions I sprung to mind is being a man. I've got daughters, and my daughters, as they grow up, I want them to have equal possibilities and so on. The whole women in print thing, frankly, I don't feel like, how do I get involved? It's women in print, you know what I mean? Is one of the things that came out of the session was actually, if there was a bit of a strategy that was maybe not so much women in print or diversity in print, or is it some, there is a community of people, I'm sure, like me, and Graham actually, I know, has daughters too, that would support something like that. I'm sure if we felt perhaps there was a way of collaborating. Don't we think about that? It's kind of building on what you were saying earlier, Montserrat. It's actually, don't want to divide things here. We want to kind of collaborate to make a difference, don't we?
Yes. So in all these group of people, you have to, and it goes beyond gender. You've got associations of people who have something in common, right? So you've got, as an expat, you always have your expats club if you live abroad, and then you have something together, and you get together and discuss things with your view. That's one of the objectives of all those groups, and therefore, if you're not a woman, you might not understand 100% of the feeling that is being expressed. But another very important objective of all those groups is to promote female talent as a way to get to diversity, right? And there is where male participation is as important as women. I totally believe that these women in print, or girls who print, or, I mean, there are women in packaging. There is another one that I am extremely interested in the UK. I'm sure there is not a purpose to exclude anybody. It's just the first thing that comes to mind is, let's get together those who have something in common. And it's in the second thought that you think, oh my God, we need men and women equally. But it comes as a second thought. It happened to me when we started the Women Win at Heidelberg. That's our diversity program. The first thing that we did, we just got the girls together. And then we thought, oh my God, we're missing half of the equation here. But it was a second step. At the end of the day, when you get an association, you need to get your minimum viable product right? Yeah, and that is the group, the community. And then you start improving your product.
The next tier. No. Yeah. Karis, is there anything you wanted to pick up on?
Yeah, I will just say, it's the fact is, these women in print and girls who print and all these other associations are needed. It's a male-dominated industry. Like Montserrat said, we need that support. There's people that can share experiences and share resources with each other. And I can guarantee that any man, if they were to approach any woman involved in his organization and ask, how can I be involved? How can I help in this kind of fight, for lack of a better word? They're not going to say, this is our girls' club, keep out. It's every woman would be happy to share kind of information with men on how they can help with the kind of march towards a more diverse industry. And I would encourage men to do that, to say, how can I amplify women's voices, and how can I help it in the fight to a more equitable industry. So that's something I would definitely encourage people to do.
So I just had another question. Thanks for that. Saying, what can we do to address that? Is that, I don't want to go on about print's image, but you kind of touched on that already. But what opinion could we globally reduce the gender imbalance and attract more women to the industry? You were intimating, Montserrat, that actually with digital print and what you can achieve in design, and the kind of the link with design is getting closer, isn't it? Yes. That creativity is something. Does that appeal? I mean, that appeals to men and women, but does that appeal a bit more to women and perhaps men? I don't know.
Exactly. I mean, what I have seen is all these girls coming out of the France and Germany schools. They trend to be mostly interested into the digital applications. Also, printing industry is not only about printing itself, right? It's also about managing a business. And printing more and more, we've seen it throughout these 2 days, is going to be a very decisive part of our supply chains. And therefore, industrial engineers who really want to go into the improvement of the supply chains, the agility that nowadays we are going to be needing applied to printing and packaging and labeling, that is also very attractive for women and men. And definitely, I have not seen a more exciting industry than the graphic arts industry. And people say, oh, it's decreasing. And well, yesterday we had apocalyptic forecasts on how it's going to go for the next 3 to 4 years. Yes, and yet you have technology, you have a huge, very complex supply chain with lots of stakeholders. You've got everything that has to do with materials chemistry. You've got everything that has to do with mechanics, everything that has to do with sales, marketing, design. It's so complex, so complete. If we just started talking about printing from another angle, it's not just the printing itself, it's everything that you do with printing. You're in communication, you're in supply chain, you are in retail, you are through printing, you are everywhere. And that's why I loved so much the view of Simon from the way that he runs his business. He's not in business, he's in communication. in his case, but that is that I see how we could attract more people to printing. It's not by putting ink or toner or whatever on a paper, is what it allows you to achieve in terms of business and richness and value to the society and economy. And that is where people go like, wow, that's printing. Yes, it is. It can be if you allow it to be.
Brilliant. Okay. Karis, is there anything you want to finish off on with the women in print discussion?
Yeah, I just completely agree with what Montserrat said, and anyone that missed the session can go back and see that we do cover that. And I know Joe says one of the issues is it's poorly defined, especially in the UK. It's, you know, for the size of the industry, it's not defined as a proper industry, and it's hard to communicate with everyone outside the industry, let alone young people, let alone women. And I think absolutely right. It's such a creative and diverse industry with so many different parts to it that we need to be better at that outreach, and goes back to, again, something we covered, that we talk a lot about education at an early age and all the kind of resources for that. So there's a lot more that can be done to show what a kind of vibrant and varied industry it is. And I just want to kind of say another thanks to Montserrat and all the other speakers that were involved in that session, because it was a really, really great discussion.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. Well done. That was brilliant. So thanks for that. So it's, as I said in the intro, 3rd of June is Global Exhibitions Day, the global exhibition industry. So leading on to exhibitions. So what's your view on shows? Obviously, up to now, I've been as I think I said before, it's the engines of you know, where you launch products, where people come and have a look at them, and you know, we can't, you know, a lot of the polls that we've run so far, a lot of people are thinking actually either April next year or when a vaccine is found is the next time they're going to visit an international trade show. So could this be a watershed moment for exhibitions? I'm not saying it's the end of events, but the kind of exhibitions as we formerly knew them, perhaps it's time the big shows might change. What do you think, Montserrat?
Definitely. Trade shows are a tool of the 19th century. They started getting traction in the 19th century. It's 200 years ago. And we're using it. They have evolved, of course. And if Chris Curran hears me, he's going to kill me. But indeed, time evolves, and if one good thing COVID has brought to our society is we all have discovered what technology allows us to do, and it allows us to do a lot of things. Who would have told you, Marcus, that you would be here doing these two days online? What? It was unthinkable. I remember having meetings more than an hour long. It was like, you're going to kill my brain. And now we're days long, all together online, discussing, sharing, and learning, right? So I think COVID has brought that good thing to us, and we should take advantage of that and use that as a way of evolving the way we bring new product launches to the market, bring news to the market. Arnaud brought news to the market with the MGI guy.
Good bridge there. I was going to do that, but you did it
that,
for me.
That was cool. That was very cool. And I, you know, I found it a very nice way of showing news, even if you are not bringing that machine to Drupa, spending all what you need to do, all you need to spend to bring that unit to Drupa. So I think at the end, I hope we learn. I hope we evolve the way we interact, we learn, we share, and we bring products to market, and we end up with a hybrid model by which we use online, virtual reality, which we have not been using yet, but we should use more and deeper, and our demo centers. I mean, ask any manufacturer out there, a huge portion of our marketing and sales budget goes there. And we need returns on that investment. Therefore, using smaller trade shows, probably trade shows where it's more about the social and human interaction, with online platforms for content sharing and stuff, and then demo centers. Probably that is what it should look like in the
So it could trigger a change in format. We're not saying that actually face-to-face is important, but the format might have become a little bit unwieldy. And
Totally.
as you said, Arnaud with Memjet was in a session earlier where you presented a new product, and virtual, as you said, maybe won't replace live events, but it may serve a purpose that perhaps formerly wasn't realized. So Arnaud, you had nearly 500 people, I think, in your session. So tell us a bit about what you were presenting.
Yes, I will wait. I just wanted to read a bit on what Montserrat said, because at the end, what is very important is to have the best customer experience. And the best customer experience, it's a lot about relationship. It's a lot about hosting someone in a personalized way and to share technology and all details of technology, to test, okay. And then be able to come up maybe with a business case and with a question and answer, but that are really personalized. And I think it is possible to do it with an online event like this one, because you can share information a lot. But you can also host people in a very nice competence center. And I think there are a lot of companies in the printing industries and the packaging industry who have invested a lot of money in competence center to host the best way possible their clients. And Timson ourselves, we are very happy to support them, exactly as we did it there together with Victor Abergel from MGI. We are there to support and to develop, to contribute to the success of our OEM and MGI. So I believe that online will work very well, better and better, and the competence center will be leveraged more and more. And at the same time, I also agree with Montserrat. Smaller, highly skilled trade show for very specific conversation be also probably helpful. Okay, so it's a combination of the three. But at the end, most important for everyone is to generate the best customer experience, and it's a very complex job to do this.
Yeah, no, definitely, and yeah, certainly from the experience we've had with this event over the course of the next few months, we will be running more virtual events that perhaps have a purpose to connect new technology with people that may be interested in investing, finding out how to improve stuff, how to improve their marketing and so on. So I think we'll see more of that. You'll see more of us doing that and creating those platforms. But Karis, your view of events, because you've run events and in the past and that, so and you're quite involved in Printing United in the US. What's your view of the big exhibition, perhaps in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, I love events. I love the big events. That's just a personal, opinion. So it's probably a bit biased, but I think that's so important. But I do agree. It's something that we touched on in my conversation with Chris Curran from NAPCO earlier. There's a space for physical events, and there's a space for online events, and there's different things, especially in print where it's such a tactile and kind of sensory industry. You kind of need that face-to-face experience. And I see here there's a question that says, do you think a model of trade show hubs in regions could be an alternative option? For me, I love the big international events and I think it's so important to see how different countries are doing business and kind of have that global or European or whatever kind of region you're in opportunity to all come together. So I'm by no means an expert. That's really just opinion, but I think it's so important to have those big events. I still think there's a place for them.
Yeah, and we're not saying there isn't a place for them, but I think that the kind of difficulty right now, apart from the fact that people are concerned about that, is the sense to which actually economically are people going to be going and investing, and the huge expense that large trade shows impose on people. And you know, as Graham's just mentioned to us in the, you know, that actually virtual events can help new technology cross the chasm without the usual huge effort of a trade show. So there's definitely a place for both, and similar to the fact there's a place for analog and digital print. They do different things, but actually there's certain values of virtual. You can be more agile, you can make things more quickly, you don't need a venue, you don't need an air ticket. There's all these sort of immediate values that perhaps people are appreciating now, as in, like you were saying earlier, you know, 6 months ago we wouldn't have thought we'd be doing this, but we are.
Right.
So yeah, it's an exciting time. I'm not sitting here gleefully. I've been involved with exhibitions in the industry for 20 years, running events, launching events, and a real believer in them. But given the changes, if I always think there, you know, there is opportunity and adversity and change, and if you're able to adapt and flex with it, you can create relevancy and value. So yeah. And anyway,
that's why, Marcus, I just wanted to add that's why.
Please do.
When we discussed together about this session, what we did a Memjet session, it was quite evident for us that we would invite one of our customers to talk and to showcase very nice technology, very innovative technology, bringing a lot of new value added. And it did not take us a long time to think about that. You know, it was really like, let's make it and let's do it. And we spoke together with Victor, and immediately he was very, very enthusiastic to do it. So I guess many people are going to do these kind of things very easily, and to leverage also the social media to showcase technologies with everything that we can use today in terms of new technology.
At the end of the day, all these machines are mission critical for the people in printing, right?
Sure.
The software packages, the big presses, even if it's you know, even more if it's over $1 million or a 2 million euros machine, and it will always have to be a human interaction. It will because at the end of the day, business is people talking to people, agreeing to people, and having chemistry to people. As much as I can see your faces and I can talk to you and see how you react to my responses, if I'm going to invest 3 million euros with any one of you, I really want to shake hands. I mean, probably it's my generation now talking, but my generation still enjoys shaking hands and looking at each other's eyes and saying, I can trust you and my confidence is with you. And I think this social distance is never going to change that.
No, indeed. So Arnaud, before we kind of move on to conclude, you were what was it you were presenting? You were presenting something interesting with MGI that they hadn't had a chance to obviously launch at a show. So explain a little bit about what makes it unique.
MGI was presenting a new product that will be launched, in fact, in a bit later this year in October. There will be a global event in Paris. It's a technology called AlphaJet. And if you will, it is a 360-degree digital printing, doing also embellishment capabilities, and addressing a large type of application in packaging, in books, in commercial, B1 format, B2 format with high quality, leveraging the Memjet technology, the Duralink technology, 1600 by 1600 high resolution, high speed as well. And so we think it will be a very important step moving forward in the folding carton segment, especially. And this is what Victor was presenting this afternoon to everyone.
Brilliant. Yeah,
I have to say it was very interesting to hear it. In all promises are met. Oh my God, congratulations, because you've got something in your hands.
No, absolutely. What is really great, and what it's MGI fantastic R&D and engineering work. It's to have developed this AlphaJet, combining, if you will, digital inkjet printing, digital spot UV coating, digital hot foiling, and digital die cutting with this smart packaging concept because you need a very strong automated workflow. I think they really managed, that's why I was using the term of 360 degree, because I think they have done a fantastic job. Memjet has helped and supported at some point with some part of our technology, but really the whole award is to come back to MGI, who has done a fantastic job. So now it's time to launch, it's time to go, and at least the whole Memjet people will do their best to make the success of, or contribute to the success of MGI, for sure.